Hello and welcome back to the Beefy Tech channel. Today we're taking a look at Battlefield 2042 performance. If you end up enjoying today's video, make sure to let me know. I normally don't cover Battlefield 2042 solely, but I've decided to branch out specifically because I want to do more than just Call of Duty on my channel. The PC we're going to be using for the testing today is none other than my main personal rig, alongside with a second streaming/recording PC that's doing all of the heavy lifting in terms of recording. Just in case you guys are curious, I'll leave the specs of both computers up on screen. If you guys would like me to make a guide on how to set up a dual PC streaming/recording setup, let me know. I feel like I finally nailed how to set everything up to a T, and I could definitely help you guys out if you want me to make that video, so leave a comment down below and let me know. The modes we will be testing today are Rush, Breakthrough, and Conquest 128. The point of today's video is to essentially see how the 7950X 3D and the 4090 perform in a 32-player, 64-player, and 128-player environment. The settings we will be testing at today will be at 1440p with pretty much all low settings, and then I'll also slap it to ultra settings specifically to see what difference that would make. Here we are in Battlefield 2042 in a game of Rush. So, we're gonna evaluate the performance and see roughly how this CPU and GPU combo performs in this game at 1440p low. Now, to be entirely fair with you, I'm very surprised to see that the GPU usage is only at 70% and we're still above 300 plus FPS. Yes, this does essentially mean that we're slightly CPU bottlenecked in this scenario, but clearly the performance isn't really getting hit too much as a result. And yeah, would you look at that? 250 FPS experience at 96% GPU usage. I actually did forget to enable the 1% low, so let me quickly pop that up here. And let's see how the 1% lows with ultra settings are. I'm gonna run around and I'll shoot a bit too. Let's see if we can find some people. I mean, they seem pretty reasonable for ultra settings at 170 FPS for 1% lows when the averages are at 260. Okay, so the averages are now at around 300, but 1% lows only went up by 30. So the averages go up by about 40 to 50, but the 1% lows not nearly as much by the looks of it. I mean, it depends. I don't even know what I'd play at, to be honest. I'd probably stick with low. But low and high are so close together, it doesn't really matter. And that's mostly due to that CPU bottleneck over there. But all things considered, the game feels good. I like how it feels. And the performance is great. I do want to test some bigger modes, so let's quickly switch over to the bigger modes and see how they perform. After I slap these kids quickly. Oh. Chill there, buddy. Oh, and he got me. Let's switch. Okay, we are now in a game of Breakthrough with 64 players. We're on low settings, 1440p, and we're testing the FPS. I'm going to quickly enable the 1% lows, and we're going to get going. Now, I'm going to also test high right after I die one time, so I'll try push up closer to the enemy team and see if we can get something done. But as you can see, the GPU usage on low settings sticks between, say, 80 to 90%, I'd say. And it does get pretty decent FPS at 318 averages with yet again 1% lows of around 190. 1% lows are okay, but nothing impressive, I'll recognize that much. Given the average FPS is so high, the 1% lows are not particularly spectacular. Ooh, and as you can see in this map, the 1% lows, well, actually they're not that bad. They're pretty much the same as what they were in the previous map, with the averages being like 6 lower on Ultra. I mean, I guess it does depend which part of the map you're on. So the averages are now like 10 lower on Ultra, even a bit lower now that the building's falling apart. So as you can see, that does affect it, but it doesn't seem to be from the CPU performance that the FPS is getting hit, but rather from the GPU performance. Yeah, no. So we're fully GPU bottlenecked pretty much over here. And yet we were losing some performance, which means that the GPU was the one that was causing the performance drop, not the CPU. Mind you, we are playing ultra settings, so that would have a huge effect on the performance, obviously. I'm going to respawn back in this guy and reset the 1% lows, because it obviously makes a big difference to spawn back in. Let me quickly get rid of this sniper by trying to LMG him. Yeah, that's not going to work. But all things considered, the performance has been very, very good on this system. Battlefield 2042 is quite well optimized, all things considered, and even areas with low FPS, quote-unquote low FPS, feel very, very smooth for me. I have been enjoying this game a lot more, especially since I just kind of stopped maining Call of Duty, and the performance has been overall good on this game. It's funny though, because I'm pretty sure I theoretically get more frames on Call of Duty, but Call of Duty feels far worse to play than Battlefield does. Even on ultra settings over here, where we're averaging 240 with 1% lows of 150, the game still feels perfect. Now if I slap this down to low, those averages would suddenly skyrocket to above 300, and the game would have like 190, 201% lows and perform incredibly well. Alright, we're here in a 128 player Conquest on this map that I haven't actually played before. And the FPS is surprising, to say the least. It pretty much hangs in there right with the 64 player map. And there's basically no difference. In fact, there's a bit more average FPS on this map. I mean, it's possibly because this map is less intensive overall and allows a bit more GPU usage, so less of a CPU bottleneck, but the game is seemingly running quite well. All things considered, I have to say I'm quite impressed by the 128 player performance, as I expected it to be significantly worse overall. I don't think it's as smooth in terms of the frame timeline as the 64 player was, but it definitely still performs quite consistently and well, and I don't think I'd have trouble playing at all with this FPS and the frame timeline being the way it is. Now let's see if we can get some action in here and see if that affects the 1% lows in average frame rate. And there's one person, an assist. Oh, my sensitivity is insanely high, by the way. There we go. Got you, buddy. Got you, buddy. I'm gonna keep blasting. What's an LMG for if not to keep blasting, buddy? Nah, you're done for, man. I told you you're done for. Anyway, now we blasted quite a bit. Let's see how our performance remains after I escape with my life, mind you. Nice. And our 1% lows dipped by a very small amount, same for our average FPS, but not much has changed. So overall, you're gonna have a very consistent time, even on 128 player Conquest on low settings. Now, let's switch it to Ultra and see what difference that'll make. Let me quickly get the cover. Now, while we switch it to Ultra, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, as that would help me out greatly. This is one of the very first times I do a live commentary while testing like this, so I want you guys' feedback. Should I do more of this, or should I stick to what I normally do and just voice over? Now, those 1% lows were rough there for a second, and the average FPS is definitely much lower on Ultra, to the point of where I'd definitely say stick with low, even if you have the 4090, because you're actually dropping 110 or more FPS by just playing Ultra. The look difference, the game basically looks the same. It's maybe slightly better and more detailed, but nah, not worth 100 FPS, man, not worth it. So, all things considered, if you want to do Ultra, you're doing it just because you wanna, not because you should, or because it's good, or it looks any better. That's a lot of FPS down for Ultra settings. But all things considered, the performance is still good. Smooth enough to where you could enjoy the game no problem and still slap all these kids because they're getting way lower FPS than you would be on a 4090 and a 7950 X3D. What more can I say than Battlefield 2042 is extremely fun to play, and even with my minimal time on it, I've had great fun. All things considered, the performance is great too, but obviously the second you turn on Ultra, things get a bit wacky for the 4090, and you see those FPS numbers go a bit lower than you'd expect, but it's understandable. You are essentially playing Ultra settings, so if you just drop it to low, you can expect 300 plus frames in basically every single game mode Battlefield 2042 has to offer. Now, 1440p low settings wasn't even worse looking in any way, shape, or form. It actually kind of looked cleaner to me a little bit. Yes, the Ultra looked more detailed, but more detailed isn't what you want in this type of game. You want to just be able to see the enemy better. One complaint I have about the game, though, is that GPU wattage at the loading and menu screens. What in the name do you mean I'm drawing 410 watts to look at this guy in 250 FPS? That is a bit absurd in my opinion, and it definitely shouldn't be drawing this much power at the loading screen, because why? What are we doing? We're doing nothing. It's a still frame. But other than that, the game's great. So, you know, if we exclude this whole issue of drawing 400 plus watts at the loading screen, the game is actually very well optimized. I purchased Battlefield 2042 on release, and I made the mistake of expecting the game to be good. I was obviously disappointed, and I quit after just 2 weeks of playing the game, never coming back to it until very recently. I'm glad to say they've obviously made huge improvements, and the game is extremely enjoyable at the moment. If you enjoyed Battlefield 2042, and if you want to see more, make sure to let me know. I'd appreciate your comments, as I would like to know if this game is something that I can actually do full time. Call of Duty is obviously what I focus mostly, but I do want to do some more Battlefield 2042 just to branch out a little bit, if you know what I'm saying. That said, guys, if you enjoyed the video and if it was helpful, make sure to like and subscribe. Have a good one and enjoy.